The night the girl was left behind, the wind scraped the streets like a blade. It pushed paper and dust into corners, rattled the loose tin sign above the closed bakery, and crept beneath coats and sleeves with an intimate cruelty. The girl stood in the thin yellow circle of a street lamp, her shoes too small, her jacket too light, her breath puffing out in frightened white clouds. She was 6, maybe 7, old enough to understand fear, too young to know how to survive it. Her parents had not shouted, they had not cried, they had not knelt to her height and offered explanations or promises. They had simply walked away. She remembered the sound of their footsteps most of all. Not hurried, not slow, steady, as if this was just another errand completed, another burden set down. She had called after them once, her voice cracking in the cold, but the wind swallowed it. Her mother did not turn. Her father did not hesitate. The street lamp hummed overhead, indifferent. When the girl realized they were not coming back, her legs betrayed her. She sat on the cold concrete, hugged her knees, and cried with the kind of sobs that scraped the inside of your chest raw. The kind that come from a place deeper than words. Cars passed. People passed. A woman with grocery bags glanced at her and then away. A man on his phone stepped around her as if she were a puddle. Someone muttered something about "Where are her parents?" But no one stopped long enough to become an answer. Time stretched and tangled. The girl's nose ran. Her fingers went numb. She pressed her face into her sleeves and tried to remember something warm. Her blanket with the frayed corner. The smell of soap from a house that suddenly felt like a story she might have invented. She did not know how long she cried before the stranger appeared. He came from the shadowed end of the street, where the light fell off and the dark thickened. He was tall, wrapped in a long coat that had seen better years, his steps quiet. He did not rush, he did not speak. He stopped a few paces away and stood there, as still as the lamp above them. The girl looked up, startled, fear spiking again. Her body went rigid, instinct screaming. She scrambled backward until her shoulders hit the cold metal pole. Her eyes were wide, shining with tears and reflected light. The stranger did not move closer. He raised his hands slowly, palms out, a universal sign of peace. His face was lined, not unkind, but closed in on itself, as if it had learned long ago not to offer too much. His mouth did not smile. His eyes, however, softened in a way that made the girl pause. He took off his coat. For a heartbeat, she thought he meant to leave it and walk away. But he folded it carefully and set it on the ground between them, then took a step back. The coat lay there like an offering. The girl stared at it, then at him, then back at the coat. "It's cold," he said quietly. His voice was rough, like it hadn't been used much. She didn't answer. Her teeth chattered. He waited. Eventually, curiosity and the ache of the cold won. She crawled forward and pulled the coat around her shoulders. It smelled faintly of smoke and something clean beneath it. Warmth pooled against her skin, immediate and shocking. "Thank you," she whispered, barely audible. He nodded once. "What's your name?" he asked, still not stepping closer. She hesitated. Names felt dangerous, like giving away something important. But the cold had taken enough from her already. "Alina," she said. "I'm Thomas," he replied. They stood there, the girl wrapped in his coat, the stranger bare, armed against the wind, neither quite sure what came next. Thomas was not a man who planned to save anyone. He had learned to live small, to take up as little space as possible. He worked nights unloading trucks at a warehouse by the river, spoke only when necessary, and went home to a one-room apartment that echoed with the absence of a life he no longer named. People knew him as quiet, reliable, forgettable. He preferred it that way, but as he watched Lena shiver beneath his coat, something in him shifted, a gear long rusted suddenly turning. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head. "Do you know where you live?" Another shake, smaller this time. "Did your parents—" He stopped himself. The word tasted wrong. "Did the people you came with leave you here?" Her eyes filled again, and she nodded. Thomas exhaled slowly. The world had a way of making cruelty look ordinary. "I can't leave you here," he said, more to himself than to her. Lena clutched the coat tighter, as if afraid it might disappear with the words. He thought of the rules, the warnings drilled into everyone. Don't get involved, don't assume responsibility, don't make promises you can't keep. He thought of the long night ahead, the warehouse, the routine that held his life together. Then he thought of walking away and hearing her cry behind him. He made his decision. "My place is close," he said. "We can warm up, figure out what to do." She studied him, searching for something she could trust. Whatever she found must have been enough, because she nodded. They walked slowly. Thomas kept his distance, matching her small steps. When they reached his building, he paused at the door, giving her another chance to run, to change her mind. She didn't. Inside, the apartment was simple to the point of severity. A narrow bed, a small table, a chair, a kettle on a hot plate. The walls were bare, no photos, no decorations. It was a place designed for sleeping, not living. Lena sat on the edge of the bed, feet dangling. Thomas filled the kettle and set it to boil. "Do you like tea?" he asked. She shrugged. "I like warm." He almost smiled. He gave her a mug cradled in both hands and wrapped her in a blanket he found at the back of a closet. She drank carefully, eyes darting around the room. "You can rest," he said. "I'll be right here." He sat on the chair, hands folded, as if afraid that any sudden movement might break the fragile peace. That night, Lena slept deeper than she had in weeks. When she whimpered in her dreams, Thomas woke instantly, alert, listening. He didn't touch her. He just spoke softly into the dark until her breathing evened out again. Morning came gray and tentative. Thomas called the authorities. He did what he was supposed to do. They came with their forms and their practiced concern. Asked Lena questions, she answered in shrugs and silences. They looked at Thomas with polite suspicion, then relief when his story matched the facts. "She'll need temporary placement," one of them said, "until we locate family." Lena clutched Thomas's sleeve. He looked down at her small hand, at the way her fingers trembled. "I can keep her," he said before he could talk himself out of it, "just until you figure things out." The words surprised everyone, including him. Paperwork followed, rules, home checks, sleepless nights filled with doubt. Thomas learned how loud silence could be when shared with a child. He learned how much noise cereal made in the morning, how small shoes could clutter a floor, how laughter could sneak up on you when you weren't watching for it. Lena learned that Thomas spoke little but listened fiercely, that he burned toast often, that he always checked the lock twice, that when she had nightmares, he would sit beside her bed and hum a tuneless sound that somehow made the dark less sharp. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. No one came looking for Lena. Thomas never asked her to call him anything. She never did, until one evening when she fell off her bike and scraped her knee. She ran to him, sobbing, arms outstretched. "Thomas," she cried. He lifted her without thinking, holding her close as he cleaned the wound. That night, as he tucked her in, she hesitated. "Can I call you something else?" His chest tightened. "If you want, can I call you Dad?" The word landed between them like a held breath. Thomas swallowed. "Yes," he said, voice thick. "You can." Years passed. Lena grew taller. Thomas grew older. The apartment filled with drawings taped to the walls, with schoolbooks and laughter, with a life neither of them had planned, but both of them chose every day. Sometimes, on cold nights, Lena would ask about the night they met. "You didn't say much," she would say. "Why did you stop?" Thomas would look at her, at the girl who had turned his quiet survival into something warmer, braver. "Because you were crying," he would answer simply. And in that answer was everything, that love did not always arrive loudly, that family could be built from silence and choice, that even when stone-faced people walk away, someone else might stop, set down their coat, and stay.